Hello, everyone. Welcome to Cookie Decorating Live. I'm Hani, your host. And in today's episode, we're going to make 3D tree cookies. These are fall cookies. This is an episode 236. So there's lots of episodes. If you are new to the live stream, you can watch the replay on YouTube or Facebook. And also, if you are really just joining in, if this is your very first time, we go live every week on Wednesday, 1 p.m. Eastern Time on Facebook and YouTube. So welcome, everyone. Welcome, welcome. Let's see who is here today. I'm so excited about this episode. Or episode. Yeah, episode. Let's call it episode. Hello, Byron. How is it going? Oh, you went to the movies. Fantastic. That's the best thing to do. I'm glad you enjoyed Cinderella. Hello, hello. You haven't had breakfast yet? How come? I'm not. I have to say, are you guys breakfast people? Like, do you do breakfast? Because for a very long time I didn't do breakfast, and now I'm trying to get back to the breakfast. Hello, Heather, Chattanooga. Oh God, yes. Last time we spoke last week, I actually wasn't even aware. Well, I was, but I didn't know how bad it was in Valencia. Valencia is quite close to us, and so flooding there, it's just devastating. It really is. It is so awful there. So thank you for your concern. Hello, Sally. Hello, hello. Sending hugs. Hello, Elisa. Hello, hello. Thank you everyone for joining me today. Hi, Kathy. We are headed for the fall tutorials, and then I have a couple of holiday ones inspired, so I can't wait to share all that with you in the coming weeks. Hello, Charlie. It's nice to see you. I'm so glad you could join us. Hello, Colleen. Yeah, this is a project I have to say. You say it looks interesting. This is nothing new. Actually, I've done. Let me just bring up the screen. I wanted to. Oh, here we go. So I did this tutorial 20. Gosh. Now it's 2024. So this was 2011, I think. So this tutorial, it's basically what we are doing today, the structure, but the design is different. In this tutorial, I used the mint leaves. So this is something, you can find this on my blog, and I will be updating this tutorial with the new one, but I will keep this in place as well if somebody wanted to try it. I used mint leaves. Mint leaves are fully edible. So what I did, I painted the back or front, I can't remember. I think it was back, I can't remember quite, with food color, or like, I guess I mixed food color with alcohol, and then I used it to decorate the cookies. So that's what I did there. And here is the cookie before it was assembled. So that's what we are doing today. Let's see, I wanted to go back to the comments. I hope I don't, hello, 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 Sherry. Hello, Anna, Colleen, Long Beach. Thank you. It's very sparkly, I know, but we need a lot of love today everywhere. Hello, Angie. Hello, Sheila. You always have breakfast. That's a good thing. You don't eat breakfast. Never liked it as a child, much to my mom's despair. Yeah, I'm not a I don't even call it. I try not to call it breakfast. It's just I'm trying to eat more protein, and it seems to be working when I have protein in the morning first thing. But then I have my dinner at 5, so I don't eat for a bit of time. Can function without breakfast and coffee. Coffee, yes. Hello, Heather. Yeah, they can be pretty tasty. Yeah. So if somebody wanted to try it, hello, Jeremy. How is it going? I hope you are having a good week. Hello, Susan. All right, everyone. All right. So I'm gonna go ahead and share a few things with you since we are headed for the fall, and I know many of you are celebrating Thanksgiving. And if you wanted to get a head start on your decorating or perhaps get some ideas going, I've got some simple ideas on the blog. This is a turkey tray I did many years ago. It is super simple, really doable for anyone to do. That's on the blog, and also it's part of the YouTube gallery there. These are pretty recent, I think a couple of years ago. If somebody doesn't like royal icing, I've got some requests for buttercream decorated cookies. So let me know, guys, if this is something that interests you. Maybe we can squeeze that in between the royal icing decorating using buttercream. So these are fully buttercream decorated turkey cookies. And also I made bakery style cookies that are soft. Both recipes are on the blog. These are more traditional royal icing decorated. So that's for the Thanksgiving. And also if you are into, and you know how much I love table setting cookies. So these are table setting pumpkin cookies. I used the Wilton set for this particular design. Also, the letters are from Wilton. It's that giant box of their plastic cutters. I think 101 cutters. Does anyone have that set? It's a really good set. It contains all the basic shapes, and it does have letters. So, and they are pretty decent. They are not too small, nor they're too big. They're a nice size. So all of these tutorials are on the blog, and also some of them are, well, all of them are actually on YouTube. And links, I don't know if you can access the description box on YouTube, but the links are in the description box in the show notes. What cookie cutter did you use for the tail feathers? Okay, let me bring that up. This is okay, oak? Is this an oak? It's a leaf, it's a small leaf cutter. It's a small leaf cutter. I think this is an oak, right? Correct me if I'm wrong. I always mess up the leaves. I know the maple leaf, but I think this is the oak. Like a small leaf. You could use any kind of, like, I think leaf, a small leaf leaf cutter for that. All right. Yes, Christmas is getting closer and closer. All right, so I also wanted to show you, I'm just still waiting for a few people to join in. Oh, what happened a year ago? Do you guys remember? We were talking about royal icing consistencies. This is a subject that never gets old. Everybody always needs some help, even myself. There is always some improvement that it's needed sometimes. And so that's what we talked about. And the link is also in the newsletter. If you are subscribed to the newsletter, let me bring that up. You received the link earlier before the live stream with the reminder. Where is the newsletter? Here it is. Okay, and so this is the link that's going out. And then also, I still have the royal icing transfers Christmas edition. They are 30% off if you use this link. So you can check it out. Thank you, Byron. You're always so sweet. I really appreciate your kindness, and it means so much. Thank you. Okay, so let's remove this screen, and then we can get started. So the cutters, as far as the cutters go, I don't have a cutter, so I made my own cutter. These are just prototypes that I have here, but I ran out of time, unfortunately, today, so I will have the template for those of you interested out in my coffee shop tomorrow, and for the patrons, it's going to be up there as well. So this would be the kind of like the undecorated cookie. Today I used the gingerbread cookie dough because the season calls for it, but you can use You can use like classic sugar cookie recipe as well. Hey, hello, Karen. Long time no see. Pickleball girl. Hello, hello. Hello, Erica. How is it going? So, also recipes. As far as the recipes go, so these are the gingerbread cookies I use. These are fantastic. They're so good. Undecorated, decorated. If you like undecorated, you can use this recipe. It's so good, and they keep for quite a bit. And also, I have other recipes on the blog. I know Thanksgiving is coming up, so if you wanted to surprise everyone with homemade caramel sauce, you can do that. I need to do a recipe plug today because this is such a good recipe for caramel sauce. If you like caramel, this is the one you want to try. All right. Oh, here we go. So here are the cookies that we are using today. So this you can see, except I decided in the middle of the project, I decided to take a different road, and we're not using the leaf cookies because they just didn't fit with what we're doing today. So everything else minus the maple leaf cookies. Okay, so let's bring up the screen. I've got some stuff pre-recorded, so we're going to start with the base. And Kathy, if you are here and watching, you see, yeah, I remember a couple of weeks ago you were asking about that fork, the breaking the fork, the dough with a fork before baking. So I did it on this cookie because it was a larger cookie, and I did overwork the dough just a bit because some cookies had some bubbles, but not all of them, which is kind of sometimes strange. So that's why you see I used I have this handy tool. And I pricked the dough before I baked it. This helps to release the excess air bubbles that sometimes we can beat in with the butter and sugar, and when we are mixing the dough, and those sometimes can, in baking, pop on the surface and will bubble the surface. All right. So I'm decorating the top with green icing, and this is, I would say, not my traditional 15-second consistency. You can see it's a bit thicker. Reason for this is I wanted to get some texture going on there. So I'm just gonna spread it with a palette knife. It's a really good idea to get a couple of these palette knives. They come in handy when you're decorating cookies. And you can see the icing is not like smoothing completely. So I'm gonna do a technique. I haven't done this, I have to say. So I'm just gonna use my palette knife and create texture with the palette knife. I'm just going up and down like this, creating these spikes, but they're going to settle somewhat. They're not going to stay like this, but it's just going to create some interesting texture. Okay. Thank you, Karen. It is so good. It is so good. And if you add like salted like a sea salt or something like that, it's amazing. And you can also use it with Swiss buttercream. You can add that in to make caramel buttercream, or even to cream cheese. It's fantastic. All right, so this is the base that you need to prepare. That's the base where we're going to put our tree on. So ideally, you want to make it bigger than the base of the tree. And also, I'm looking at it now. I've got my tree. So the width of the crown of the tree, it's about the same width as my base. All right, so let's remove this screen. Let's have a look. I really need well, my recipe also uses baking. I believe I have baking powder. No, not baking soda. But if you are really struggling, let's say if you make, I have a different recipe for gingerbread houses that are meant for display. That's a recipe that bakes super hard. And in that recipe, I don't use any leavening agent. So no baking soda, no powder, no baking powder, no ammonia, nothing. Baker's ammonia, that is, not a regular ammonia. Okay. All right, so now let's make the pumpkins. We're gonna have some pumpkins on the bottom by the trunk of the tree, and these are around this time, you can get a set of mini fall cutters. So there's usually pumpkin and variety of leaves, and maybe something else. I don't know, some I don't know what else, but usually pumpkin and leaves. So you can use that to make the pumpkins. And for this, I'm using about 20-second icing, 20-second consistency, and I'm letting the segments crust between, which will take maybe 10-15 minutes. These are quite small. I'm letting them crust, so I do have that segment design in place. So there's nice dimension in there. And you can make as many segments or as little segments as you wish. You can make 3 segments or you can make 5, like I'm doing. And after this, we have to let it dry or crust, depending on how much time you have, and then we can add the stem. For the stem, I'm using this is like a avocado or sage colored royal icing, and it's about piping consistency. You can see it's keeping the shape, it's not spreading. And then we can let those dry. Okay. Now we're going to go ahead. I'm going to go ahead and we're going to do the trees. So you can see the trees, once they are baked, they should come together something like, they should, if you see perhaps they're a little wobbly, you can use a zester and kind of shave the bottom. I suggest making the slits bigger, because sometimes in baking they may spread a little bit, even though if your dough is not spreading too much, it's just the nature of how it's cut. Or you can cut it after you bake them, but you have to do it right after while the dough is still very hot. Now I decided that I'm not gonna decorate that whole section. In my first tutorial from 13 years ago, I decorated the whole thing, but I decided not to do it because then I would have to make the cookies bigger, and then the slit would have to be quite wide to make room for all the icing from both sides, because remember, we're going to decorate both sides. Now, if you're not a fan of the thickness of the icing that we are going to do today, like, you can just spread some icing on there with a palette knife, a really thin layer that we'll do, and then add the second layer that we'll do with brown icing, and that's the branches. So that's really up to you. I'm using 15-second consistency icing here. If you were to just spread the icing, you can go ahead and use like 20-second or something like that, and use your palette knife and spread a thin layer of white icing on the top. And it will dry faster if you decide to go that route, because we have to let each side at least crust. I find if it's fully crusted, I was able to turn it over onto like a soft surface. So I used a paper towel to make it soft. So I turned it over and I decorated the other side. And if you have any questions, guys, just pop them in the comment section. So now we can do the other side. I was playing with an idea of doing the marble using yellow, orange. I actually did a prototype with those colors, yellow, orange, and red, but it just ended up being too busy. You could perhaps airbrush. If you have an airbrush, you can play with the design and create something different. Maybe using an airbrush. Yeah, I think using an airbrush would work. I just felt it was too busy. Hello, Pilar. Hello, buenos dias. All right, so once this crusts, we're gonna add the branches. Now let me pause for a second. To make the branches, I'm going to remove this and bring up my screen. All right. So I wanted to just talk about this icing for a little bit. Because this is the icing I'm using for the branches. It's about, I would say, like I call it like soft piping consistency. It's not icing that spreads too much yet. When you kind of jiggle it or like agitate it, it will kind of flatten and smooth. So you can use like a pressure piping technique to create the branches where you squeeze the bag quite a bit and then you see this bulky area here. You can use your scribe, and once you kind of move it, it flattens. So let's see if we can. So this is about the consistency. It's not, you see, it's not like piping consistency where it's completely separated. It's not separated, nor it's becoming like one blob. You know, it's not really, if I shake it, it will obviously, if I do this, it will eventually. But if I don't shake it, it will not happen. So this is, and I like this consistency quite a bit. So that's what I used for the branches. So let me bring up that screen again. Let me remove this. And I think I got it. Okay, here we go. Zumba fitness. Do you recommend 15-second icing for outlining and filling? Well, for the initial layer, you are trying to achieve smooth layer on your cookies. Yes, it's the 15-second. That's what I like. But you can work with icing that is 10-second if that's what works for you. For the decorating, I suppose you're asking on the base layer. So you can do 20-second. You can do, if you're adding, depends on what you're doing really. If you're adding lines, then like outline, like this soft piping consistency is good. Or yeah, it really depends on what you're doing. When you're decorating minis, you can get away using 20-second because it's such a small area and icing is not really crusting. If you're working with larger cookies, like 10 by 10 inches, you might have to do really like runnier icing because by the time you're done just outlining and filling, the icing will start crusting if you're using 15 seconds. So for that, you can use runnier icing. Generally though, yeah, for like 3-inch cookies, 15 seconds, yes, to flood for the base, and then the top you can do 20, 25. Yeah, it really depends on what you're doing. Really does. I mean, it's hard to generalize that. Okay, so now let's do the other side, and you have to do this 4 times because we have two, 3 cookies and from each side. Okay, so 4 times the same thing. You see, if I use the scribe tool, it kind of comes together, and then we can do the branches. To make the brown, I used chocolate brown from Emery Color brand. If you don't have a good brown that you like to use, you can play with making your own brown with red and what other color we can use to make brown? Anyone can tell me? Red. If I have red, what other color I can use to make brown? Anyone? Let me know in the comments. I'm waiting. And this little house, in case you're wondering, why would you want to make that? You can use it to decorate around your gingerbread house. Oh, green, fantastic. Heather, thank you. So to make the brown, you can play with the green and red. Yes, Kathy, that's correct. Yes. You know, I did not know this, but a long time ago I was making a fish cake and I wanted to put it, not, yeah, I think it was a fish cake. I wanted to put it on like a wooden board and I didn't have brown. And so I looked it up. Red, yellow, black. Is that right? I will, I don't know. I guess yes. Is that right? Red, yellow, and black will make also brown. I have to look that up. All right. So now I have one more prepared, one video prepared for you. So this is wafer paper, guys. And I'm airbrushing with yellow. I'm starting with yellow. I'm airbrushing the smooth side of the wafer paper. And then we're going to do orange. It doesn't really matter that it's spotty. You actually want this to be spotty because we're going to use a punch to cut out leaves from wafer paper. And I wanted to have like these fall colors in there. So you can really add quite a lot of layers. The only thing when you're airbrushing wafer paper is to don't get it too wet, because once you get it too wet, then it starts to get soft and it's not a good idea. So make sure that you if you see that it's a bit wet or getting a little moisture on there, wait a couple minutes, let it kind of air dry, and then airbrush again. If you see that it's curling up a little bit, it's no problem. Oh, it would be cool to have each segment of the three a different season. Oh, I love that. That's a nice idea. I like that. Oh, I can see the snowflakes. It would have to be on a bigger scale, though. I can see that on a larger scale, like a bigger tree, maybe like 12-inch, and have it. Oh, I like that. So now we can do some red, and then I'm going to cut the leaves using a punch. Now I only have a really tiny punch. Some of you probably have a larger paper punch. And in the show notes on YouTube, you can find the tools that I used, and there are also some paper punches, and there is a set of three maple leaf punches that you can use. All right. So let's bring up my screen here. Okay. All right. So here's my here's my wafer paper. I didn't airbrush the other side here. I just kept that white because we're going to glue that on. And this is my tiny little punch. Obviously, I kind of highly suggest getting a slightly larger one because this is so small. But it makes for really, really cute leaves, I have to say. So to cut these, I'm going to cut through 2 strips. I'm able to do that. Although I don't know if I can do 3, but I can do 2. I already did 2. I'm going to practice my forearm muscles, really important muscles for when you are getting older. So you know, they control the grip. All right. So now we can thread it in and you can also get, and I don't have this, I really need to get some snowflake punches because I have a large, like it's like a couple inches across snowflake punch, but there are some that are really tiny and they just come in handy around the holidays because you can use them to decorate gingerbread houses, and it's such a nice accent. All right. What I also found that I hate to throw these out because I think these will make really cute banners. I've got a bunch of them here. Look, aren't they cute? I think these I could possibly reuse. Yes, you could use fall sprinkles. I have some fall sprinkles, but the leaves are quite small, I have to say. They are really, really tiny. So that's why I decided to go this way. And before we continue, I also wanted to those of you who are on Patreon, I completely forgot to mention the new tutorials on Patreon. So these went out the earlier, was it this week or last week? I can't remember now, but these are out. This is a fall set. It's kind of like coffee inspired with like knitted pattern, and I did a floral design on a maple leaf, but you can do that on a round cookie. And also these cute little 3D flower bouquet, give thanks, but you can change it up. You can add a name or perhaps even different flowers. Roses would be nice. Maybe Easter. Oh, Easter would be lovely with some Easter flowers, and you can really use this for so many different occasions. So that's out on Patreon. Oh my gosh, Karen, you are reading my. You're like, are you in my brain now? Like, I'm totally thinking gingerbread house, but I was thinking along the like, yeah, I'm thinking of like a folk house, and it has sometimes they will have like designs on the side of the house. Well, anyway, I'm not throwing these out because I just like them too much. Too much. Where can the cookie cutter for this tree be found? I don't have it out yet. It will be available in the coffee shop. Coffee shop, it's a shop. It's an online place where you can purchase digital. They are not actual physical products. These are digital products, and you can check out the plethora of templates that I already have. It's in the coffee shop there. I understand, Jeremy. I understand. I am with you all. That's fine. I have a heart on my shirt. A lot is going on. Charlie, I hope next tutorial on in Patreon it's going to be a bit simpler. So I'm gonna try. Because I always think it's too simple, but I understand I sometimes make it too complicated. So I'm gonna make couple of tutorials that will be simple and using wet on wet decorating, so it's not so time consuming. I know not everybody has a whole day to decorate cookies. All right, I also wanted to show you some cookies from Sally. Sally sent me her beautiful. Remember last week we did box cookies. Aren't these adorable? I just love these. I think this is the same cutter I have, if I'm not mistaken. I think it's the exactly same cutter Sally used. And also a peacock. And I love these leaves. This is the leaf tutorial inspired by the Patreon tutorial. And also these, remember the fiery football transfers we did a couple of months ago? So I released a new tutorial on Patreon earlier last month actually. It was in October. And so this was the tutorial, and Sally used the transfers there. All right. Oh, you cut it by hand. It looks identical. Wow, you're good. You're so good. All right, so let's go back. I'm just going to put these in my tray here. I've got these in a tray. My hands are very clean. I wash my hands all the time, 50 times a day at least. I use soap, a regular soap. This is just for the hand washing police. And I do it at least a minute. So my hands are clean. So I'm touching these. And nobody's going to eat them but me. So, okay. So we're going to attach these onto the leaf, onto the tree. I've got the trees here. I've got two. And to attach the wafer paper, you can use, this is the edible glue that I have. Thank you, Heather. Of course, Charlie. Of course. You took the image and cut it energy. It looks identical. That's why I thought you had the cutter. It's such a perfect cut. I would have never thought that you hand cut it. So you can use edible glue. When you look on the label, it's that ingredient. It says glucose syrup, water, sugar, pectin, that's the thickener, citric acid, that's like acidity regulator, and some potassium sorbate, so that's a preservative. So you can use this stuff, or you can use liquid glucose, whichever you have on hand, or you could use, if you have corn syrup, that's something you can also use. What I'm gonna put some of this stuff into this little bowl. And it's pretty thick. So to make it a bit more pliable and easier to apply, I am going to add, you can use vodka or Everclear. Just a few drops, just so it's easier to work with. And it's not going to affect my real icing because it's I'm using Everclear or even higher grain alcohol, so it's just going to pretty much evaporate very quickly. So it's not gonna sit on it like water would, you know. So no pitting or anything like that. So I'm just gonna very lightly brush this glucose syrup on the icing where I want the leaves. Okay. Okay, now with tweezers, or you can also use going to add some of these here on paper so it's easier to pick up. How long does that take to dry? What do you mean? How long does take what dry? Icing or the syrup or the glucose, or you could be more specific? So I'm not sure what you mean. The glucose syrup, it's sticking. It's like it's sticking to it. I would say a couple hours. I'll show you the one I made, and I glued the leaves on there today, earlier before the live stream, and they seem to be okay. If you want the vibrant colors on your leaves, you just have to airbrush it, the glue. Yeah, I mean, completely, I think it will take several hours to dry, but I didn't really have trouble with the leaves falling off. Oh, the glue, you mean the pre-made glue. The pre-made glue, I used it only once, I have to say, to glue rice paper ghosts. And that was pretty quick. It was drying very quick for me anyway. Let's add one here and one more here. So I was saying, if you wanted to make the colors a bit more vibrant, you will have to airbrush a few more times. If it was a Cinderella tree, it would have light blue leaves. You really love Cinderella, don't you? I think you understand why I suggest using a larger punch. They're quite small. I've got. Would they stick? Thank you, Sally. Yes, Amazon. Oh, I didn't put it in a. Did I? Oh, I did put it in a description. I think it will be available. The description is gonna open, I think, after the live ends. So the link to the wafer paper, it's on Amazon. Yes, Amazon sells the wafer paper. It's a great medium. It's you can use it for so many different things. Would they stick to the icing while the icing was wet? The only problem with wafer paper, it might curl up. It might start curling up. It will stick with. Now, if you're using icing with the icing, if you use the icing, I find that the individual wafer paper decoration tends to just fall off. So that's why it is recommended to use either corn syrup piping gel, or you can use glucose syrup like I'm using. When you apply it onto the wet base, if you have a whole cookie, let's say you want to do that, it will curl up at the edges, I think. It's not like frosting sheet. Do they have different grades? Yes, they do have different grades. They do have different grades of wafer paper, and that's an excellent question, Kathy, that you posted. But unfortunately, I don't know all the grades. I have to say, I'm not an expert on wafer paper, but I will look into it because there is an excellent. She's a wafer paper goddess, I think. If I could pronounce her name, I follow her on YouTube. She has numerous tutorials, and she also talks about different grades. I will send you a link, Kathy. I think that's the best to do, so you can see. But I think I can't remember. I just ordered some, but I can't remember the thickness I ordered. I have to say, because I'm not really making any delicate flowers or anything like that. I'm just using, like, I'm making these flat decorations, so it doesn't really need to be anything special, I think. Just a standard wafer paper. But for different applications, if you're making flowers and things like that, it requires perhaps a different approach with different, different thickness and so on. Okay, I'm gonna add one more. Stay with me. And then you have to repeat. You have to repeat. And also, now I'm gonna set this aside because lucky you, I got ahead of everyone. We're going to, I'm gonna show you, how to assemble it. So let's get rid of this screen. So you don't have to glue the pieces together. It's like a puzzle, basically. If you remember, IKEA came out with a Christmas set or like a winter wonderland set many, many years ago that also kind of like works like a puzzle, like this kind of a thing. And so you see it standing on its own, and we're going to add that lovely base, and we're going to finish it off with the pumpkins and a little bit of green grass. And the wafer paper, Kathy, you can use it. I've used it. If you look up my pink gingerbread house on YouTube, I used it with white snowflakes. That was also with wafer paper. And it has so many uses in cookie decorating. So here I'm using a standard grass tip and thick consistency royal icing. For this piping tip to work, you need to use thick icing and try not to... I guess when you are using it, you want to anchor the first squeeze, I should say, and then pull away pretty abruptly so you get that grass look going on. I'm just doing this in the middle where I want to kind of position my tree. I want that to be sitting in the middle there. So that's why I was just double checking if there's enough grass, and now we can place it on there. And as it dries, it will just be glued on the bottom. I'm adding a little more grass. I don't want to cover up the whole thing, just in the middle. And then we can add the pumpkins. I like Heather's idea of doing this, perhaps not each size different season, but even if you do like for winter, you could do a winter tree and have it by the side of your gingerbread house or something like that. Now I'm adding some of these small leaves just on the grass there. And I have it here, so I'm gonna just slide it in front of me. I have to be extra careful so I don't break it. All right, I'm just gonna slide it here so I can show you in real time what it looks like. Okay, all right. Did you say you had a cookie cutter with the shape already cut up in the middle? Yes. Yes, the shape that I will put this in the Patreon. Okay, Charlie, the template will be in a Patreon. This one is misshaped, you see? This one is misshaped in the middle. I was just not paying attention. So the template comes like that, and it has a cutout in the middle. So ideally, I prefer doing it before and then doing it after, like doing it before it's baked, chill the cookie dough and then bake it. And after it's baked, I go over it, and if I see any imperfections, I can do it right after. while the dough is still hot. Once it cools, then you're risking that this little piece can break, you know? So it can break. Anyway, I'm gonna lift it up. I'm gonna lift it up and just like show you like I wish I had a turntable that is as I can turn it, but I don't. All right, so it looks the same from all sides. It's not a multi-season tree, but I think it turned out really, really nice. And yeah, I need to get a small snowflake bunch because I can see this with snowflakes. It'd be so pretty. And it makes for a really nice centerpiece. Even on top of the cake, it could look nice. Yeah, I like that on the top of the cake. I think it will be really nice. All right, so I'm gonna put it on the side here again, very carefully, so I don't accidentally drop it. You are welcome. Thank you, Sally. Yes, happy. Well, I don't know. Sometimes, yes, happy accidents. Let's be positive. Thank you, Heather. Heather. Hello, hello. Yes, thank you. Yeah, right? I mean, I was just thinking like if somebody has like a fall wedding or something and they have a tree somewhere, it could be really nice. All right, guys. Next week, if I remember correctly, it's either but I think it is red cardinal or turkey cookies, simplified. But I think it's turkey cookies, if I'm not mistaken. I don't have my schedule in front of me. And I wanted to end today's live stream on, oh, I'm having a hard time getting to the picture. What's going on? All right. On a happy note, or a happy note, I wish you all a good rest of the week. Sally sent me this beautiful picture of her heart cookies. I love the puzzle. So I love you all. Thank you so much for tuning in, everyone. I hope you enjoy your rest of the day. And I will see you next week, same time, 1 p.m. Eastern Time on Facebook and YouTube. Bye, guys.